Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to allow people to continue to join us this evening. Thank you so much for being here. Get your questions prepared as you are able to ask a counselor anything. This is going to be fun. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in and start by saying thank you so much for joining us. We are really excited to be here virtually. We wish we could see you in person, but next best thing for us is to join you here virtually. And we're so grateful that you could join us this evening. And we're all here. You have half of our big group here today, 13 different representatives from a lot of great universities from around the United States on behalf of the national CCAA group, and we are all Catholic colleges in the United States, and we are super excited to join you this evening. We're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves briefly, and then we are going to have you pop your questions into the chat, and we're going to go ahead and get those answered. So if you already have some questions, you can start throwing them in while we introduce ourselves, but otherwise we're going to go ahead and start with you, Marilena.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marilina Mata. I'm Associate Dean of Admission at Catholic University in Washington, D.C.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Skolton, and I'm the Director of International Admission at Loyola University, Maryland in Baltimore, Maryland.
Hello, everyone. Buenas noches. My name is Harvey. I represent Loyola University in New Orleans, and I serve as the Director of Admissions and the representative for international students. Thank you for joining.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Susan Whipple. I'm an Assistant Director in the Office of International Education here at Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What does that mean? It means that in addition to being an admissions counselor for international students, I am also an international student advisor. So if you decide to come to Marquette, you will work with me from the moment of inquiry through the end of your time and later as an alum.
Evening, my name is Joshua Bittler, the Assistant Director of Admissions for Newman University, and we're located just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Hi again, everyone. My name is Jenna Zwiller, and I'm the Assistant Director of International Admission for St. Mary's College, located in Notre Dame, Indiana.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob Jones, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions for Spring Hill College in Mobile, Alabama.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Bernay, and I am the Director of International Admission at St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ana Luisa Teodoro. I am the International Recruitment Specialist at St. Francis College, located in Brooklyn Heights, New York.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Gerardo Salgado, and I am the Senior Admission Counselor for all international students at St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Probis, and I'm the Director of Admission at the University of Dallas in Irving, Texas.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Ryan Concry, and I represent the University of St. Thomas in Houston, Texas.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. All right, so we're going to open up the chat for everyone. So please go ahead and ask your questions. The point of this meeting tonight is for you to go ahead and ask anything that you might be able to think of for an admission counselor. And you have a wide range of wonderful people here that are able to answer questions. This is a huge body of knowledge here for you, so feel free to ask those questions. Let me see what we've got here. All right, we do have a first question, and it's saying, how can I stand out in what they're interested in, which is environmental protection and business? So I am going to ask several of you how that might be possible. We're going to start with you, Susan, from Marquette.
Sorry about that. Great question to start off the evening. probably the best thing for you to do, and I'm not sure if you're asking how do you show us in your admissions application that these are two interests of yours. And I think that probably the best way for you to express yourself is however you prefer to do that, whether that be through using recycled things that you might want to put together a statement. But if you're thinking, how do I accomplish both of those areas of interest, the best thing to do is to look for universities that will offer you those opportunities. And a lot of opportunities will be there at universities, and it's not always easy to know. So it's a great question to be asking an admissions counselor or a current student who is there. Many universities offer you the opportunities for cross-discipline, whether that be through creating your own major or through entrepreneur centers on campus. But one of the best ways for you to let us know about your interest and for us to know what's unique about you is for you to ask the question at a university. And trust me, that's going to be a different question than what we see every day through email.
Harvey, I think you should also add to that for us.
Get off mute. Okay, thank you. I echo and repeat a lot of what Miss Susan mentioned. It's great advice. I think in maybe to speak in general, in case other students are thinking the same thing, we see here, to use an example, some of our strong programs are music and creative arts. I know it's very different from this, but students who already have involvement, have something to show in that area, we invite them, and in some cases it's required to submit a portfolio to show some of that work into the related field. So those are always things that we encourage, and it definitely strengthens, an application. If a student doesn't necessarily have some sort of direct experience or direct involvement, mentioning the things that why you're interested in it, posing that question and asking those questions to say, this is why I'm interested in, these are the things that I would like to research. I'll draw on an experience yesterday at a conversation with a student who is interested in neuroscience psychology, a program that we have. She hasn't had any opportunities to do that as a high school student, but she posed the question and said, the research I want to do is to study the brain and the effects that COVID and lockdowns and quarantine is having on people's brains. And that was pretty amazing. And we connected her with a professor, and the professor was totally delighted to hear that that student is thinking about that and had an excellent conversation with the student. And that really resonates with us because we see that a student is very serious, about the degree that they're interested in and kind of has an understanding already. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Harvey. All right, since we're all Catholic colleges here, I have a great question. And it says, do you have to be Christian to enter a Christian college? So everyone is shaking their head no. I love that. Thank you. But I'm going to ask perhaps Joshua to tell us a little bit more about why that's the case.
Sure, we are absolutely open to each and every faith and respectful of all faiths. Our institution is actually, although we are a Catholic institution founded on Franciscan traditions, only about 50% Catholic. So although there's an incredible amount of resources, we do hold Mass on campus and things like that, and incredible service opportunities to be involved with. Again, completely open to each and every faith and welcome all diversity on our campus.
Thank you. All right, we have another one from Mariana. So she says, with standardized testing being optional, do you believe it's better to turn in a score along with our application, even if it's lower than average? And why so? So this is a double header. Rachel, do you want to take this one for us?
Sure. So this is a question that you will want to check in with each university that you're applying to, because different schools will consider those scores in different ways. So as an example, at my institution, we've been test optional for 10 years now. So we didn't become test optional sort of temporarily as a response to COVID and test center cancellations and things like that. So we have a lot of experience reviewing applications that don't include SAT or ACT scores, and that doesn't disadvantage your application. So at Loyola, we consider students for the same scholarships, whether they send SAT, ACT or not. But if you choose to report your scores, if you say, I want you to consider them as part of the application process, we will consider them. So if they're low scores, that could be a negative for your application. And many schools do post their middle 50% range. So what that means is the percentiles of the scores that they receive between the 25th percentile and the 75th percentile. So if your scores are falling within that range, that means that's a typical score that the school receives and admits students based on. However, we have, for this cycle, said that even if a student asks us to include their SAT and it is a lower SAT, well, we will review that for admission. If it would harm the scholarship award in any way, we're just throwing it out for this cycle because we don't want to disadvantage students. We know this is a really tough year for everybody. We know the test options are very limited. We know a lot of families have had changes in their financial situation. So that is something that you will want to ask each school. And there's a difference between test optional and test blind as well. So a school that's test blind, they aren't going to consider your scores even if you send them. So you want to be clear about what the school's policies are for the ones that you are applying to and how those scores would be considered. And make sure that you're looking into what the school's typical range of an SAT or ACT is so that you know where you fall within that range.
Thank you, Rachel. That was really awesome. Does anyone else want to add to that before I go on to the next question? No, we're good. All right. Perfect. That was really comprehensive. I'm glad I called on you. All right. So the next one is, first of all, thanking us for our webinars and that they so far found them helpful. So you guys are doing a great job. Awesome. Keep it up. And then the question is, I was wondering approximately how long does it take the admissions office to review an application or make a decision? So this is something that I feel is going to be unique to each institution. So I'm going to let everyone speak to this in a couple of sentences, and I'm going to go by order of my screen, and that starts with you, Harvey.
On the spot. It definitely depends. In general, we do typically a 2-week turnaround from the date that we have all the materials that we need to complete your application.
And then Rachel, you're next.
So at Loyola, we consider students automatically for both merit scholarships and need-based financial aid. So all of that happens during the application process. So we do what we call batched admission decisions. So we ask that you apply by a certain date. We have an early action date and a regular decision date. And then we are able to guarantee a decision by a certain date as long as you meet our deadlines. We'll meet our deadlines as well and return a decision back to you. So typically for early action, the deadline is going to be usually November 15th, and then we can guarantee a decision by January 15th. And then for regular decision, the deadline is typically January 15th, and then we can guarantee a decision by mid-March.
And Susan, you're next.
At Marquette, we, like my colleague Harvey, try to make those decisions within 2 weeks of an application being complete. However, right now we have quite a few applications and there is a bit of a backlog, and students are now waiting about 3 and 4 weeks for a decision, which is never something we like. But you spend a lot of time on your application and we want to spend time reviewing it and making a decision. We don't want to give it a second or two. We really want to consider everything that you are saying, and that's why it takes a little bit longer, you know, when there's lots of applications. But it is, we do recognize that it's hard to wait, but we also hope that there'll be happy news at the end of the waiting period. And all of Marquette's admission decisions do include merit scholarship. So we hope that there'll be 2 pieces of good news once you're done waiting.
Thanks, Susan. David, you're up next.
So similar to Marquette and Loyola, St. Edward's operates on a rolling basis. So as soon as you submit your application and it's completed with all the required documents, we will read your application and get back to you within about 2 to 3 weeks, although sometimes it happens a lot sooner. So very similar.
And Ana Luisa?
Thank you. Similar to a bunch of my colleagues on this call, St. Francis tries to do about a week or 2 when all the applications are in. And I think the biggest thing is when all the application materials are in. That's the only thing that I think kind of holds off a student's application. One thing that I do encourage every student or counselor on this call to kind of pay real close attention to is the application materials. Just because you submit your name, unfortunately, doesn't mean that we can give you an admissions decision to that one. So make sure that you just know what exactly that we need in order to turn it around as quickly as we can for you.
That is super important advice. All right, Gerardo, it's you.
All right. For St. Mary's University, I think we try not to go past 2 weeks if possible. I know, like, for example, our offices were closed last week, so that totally just delayed everything. But I mean, we try and shoot like between 7 to 10 business days. That's like bread and butter.
And we are happy that you're back up and running, G, and everyone in your area in Texas. All right, Joshua, you are up next.
Again, very similar to everyone else. We do operate on rolling admissions, but again, when an application is complete, your admission counselor, who you'll be paired with when you do apply, will and should act on your application. You should have a decision within typically a week or two, I would say.
Jacob?
Just echoing what many of my colleagues have said, at Spring Hill College, we try to get you a decision within about 1 to 2 weeks, provided all of your application materials are on file.
Brian?
Yeah, and I have to kind of reiterate what my colleagues have said already. At the University of St. Thomas, we try to turn around a completed application within 2 weeks of receiving all the supporting items.
Ken?
Yeah, so at Viterbo, it's typically within a week once we get all requested items. The only exception might be if I'm out traveling, which isn't happening a lot lately, but I am a one-person office, so if I am out recruiting somewhere, there's likely some delays at that time, but typically within the week.
And last but not least, Michael.
Yeah, at the University of Dallas, typically in the fall, we're in a 2 to 3 week turnaround time, and similar to a couple other schools, for students, if they're accepted and they qualify for a scholarship, it's going to be in the same notification. So a lot of good news potentially for students.
Thanks, everyone.
Jenna, I haven't.
Oh, sorry, Marlena. Not on my screen.
So I just want to say that we do spend a lot of time reviewing applicants' applications. We recalculate everyone's GPA, so that's like an additional step that we take. We have 2 deadlines, one in the fall, and then we release those decisions, everyone at the same time, mid-December, and then we have the last time you can apply is January 15th. And for those, we're going to be releasing decisions in March 1st. So we're not rolling. So a little bit different from everyone else.
Sorry about that, Marlena. You were behind the chat, so I didn't even see you. I'm glad that you spoke up. All right. We have a next question. It says, I have 2 main passions in my application and all my extracurriculars are around it, but I also have a small and third passion on law. Should I write about that in the essays, even though I don't have any extracurriculars related to this? That is a really great question, actually. And I am going to go ahead and let Ryan answer that for us.
Yeah, so, really, I think when you have an opportunity to share something with us through the essay of your application, you really want to take that opportunity to give us something that we cannot get from the other supporting items that you're submitting with your application. I think it's important that you, one, if there's a specific question that's asked, make sure you're answering the question that we're asking on the application. But if it's an open topic or something that, we want you just to submit to us about a particular interest, I think it's totally appropriate to write about those interests that you may have, even though you don't have any extracurricular activities related to it, so maybe share with us what motivates you to want to pursue that as an interest, and maybe what you're looking forward to engaging in whichever university that you're applying to that's related to that, and how we can help you get to that level.
Thanks, Ryan.
Mhm.
All right. So the next question we have is, do applicants who include their SAT or ACT scores have an advantage in their application or acceptance to the ones who don't upload their scores? All right, let's see. Michael, do you want to take this one for us?
Sure, I can add on. I think Rachel was mentioning a couple of good points earlier, where depending on the school, if they're test optional, if you have a low score or an average score, you don't even have to submit it potentially. But there are a growing number of schools that are marketing and promoting that they're test blind. So even if you do submit the score, the school will just refuse to even include it in your application. And it's a good thing to kind of research if your scores will impact your admission decision, as a test optional student, or, schools are even using them to consider you for scholarship. Good number of schools are using other metrics like GPA or class rank or rigor of your curriculum for scholarship information. So it would definitely be good just to double check with your college list, if you should or should not. A good number of schools out there are not really putting too much weight into that. Even at the University of Dallas, when a student asks me, I tell them, don't even worry about sending in a test score. There's a lot of other things to be worrying about right now in the world. Focus on those other things, and the other parts of your application will stand out.
Awesome. Someone commented that they really love these kind of sessions and are wondering if we're available until 1 a.m. So that's awesome. I'm sure we're not, reading applications or anything, right? What qualities and experiences do colleges look for in applicants? So I'm going to have you lead with this one, Marlena.
Sorry. So we, when we read applications, we, of course, the academic side is a very important side, but we also like to see well-rounded individuals, students who have taken perhaps, whether it's athletics, we love to see someone who has a leadership position, whether it's someone, the president of the chess club or captain of the volleyball team, things like that. So we like to see students who have some type of leadership, who are involved. As Catholic colleges, we love to see students who are very involved with as far as in volunteering, whether it's at the church or a mission trip, tutoring inner city kids, all those type of things that they make an applicant strong. So we like to see the personal side of you. Sometimes you might not be able to be very involved. Perhaps you're taking care of your cousin who is sick or your grandma who has Alzheimer's. So it's not anything in particular, but it's a little bit of everything that makes you a complete applicant. I don't know if someone else wants to add a little bit of something else.
I was going to ask David if he would just add on to that, because there's just so many different qualities that we look for. So
yeah, I would add that we also look for students who are really curious about the world and want to learn more about their passions. And so we call this sort of intellectual curiosity. What do you really geek out about? What is really interesting and what drives you as a student? And so to the extent that you can tell us more about that in your application, I think that's really, really helpful for us to understand how you'll contribute to our university.
All right, I have a question here that's for St. Francis College specifically, and it is, are there many international students at St. Francis College?
Well, yes, there are. While St. Francis College is a small school, we're a private institution in New York City, and one thing that we really do pride ourselves on is the fact that we're a small campus. I tell every single one of my students, and it is, I wish I was joking, but it is no exaggeration that once a student enters our doors, security guards will know your name. They will ask you, oh, you didn't bring your coffee in this morning. everybody when you come to the school will know your name, your history, and your story. But even though we are a small school, we do have a really large and up and coming international student population. That's about, depending on the year, ranges between 200 to 300 strong. We also do have a new department called SFC International, which is a new department built solely for the needs and services for international students and kind of gearing up in different ways of study abroad, different community service activities and things like that. So in terms of international student population, we're a small school with a big international presence. And then additionally, we're looking for different ways to expand and kind of finding not the value in international students in terms of just, oh, what do you bring to us, of what we can offer you. So these are just some ideas of what it's like in our corner of the world.
Thank you. And then there's a part 2 of that, and that is, are there merit scholarships available for international students? So I'm going to have everyone who has a merit scholarship available give me some thumbs up from your institution, and so we can kind of answer that for everybody. We've got lots of international scholarships available, so don't be shy about finding what those are when you reach out to the counselors from schools you might be interested in or looking on websites. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. It says, good afternoon. I was wondering if applicants who have the IB program have an advantage in their application. So we're looking at IB students, and let's see. Jacob, do you want to take this one?
Sure, I was having technical difficulties. All right. So IB, it would depend upon the applicant. Certainly that's something that you would bring to the table, and so it's going to depend upon the university that you're applying to. Like so many others have said, we want to know everything that we can about who you are as a person, and so including all of those things, including your IB diploma, your IB experience, that would certainly be something that would help us in making a decision as to whether you would be a good fit or not for university.
Perfect. Harvey, do you want to add a little bit to that for us?
Absolutely. The IB, you know, it is a good indicator of your preparedness for college. I think most of us recognize that it is one of the more rigorous high school curriculums that exists. We have data and a lot of research that shows that, you know, students who complete an IB curriculum in high school progress and succeed really well at the college level. So it's more to your advantage to prepare yourself, you know, for what to expect in college. A lot of our schools also grant you credit, you know, for the IB courses that you've taken. Some are more generous than others, but kind of search around at the schools that you're interested in, ask the question, find out, you know, what credit you can get, because again, another advantage to you that you get a head start on your college career. The implications this has is you might be able to finish your degree in less time, meaning a savings in money. So when you and your parents are asking about scholarships and money, think about it that way, right? Or it allows you to fit in a double major, or maybe a triple major, or a head start to law school, all kind of things, right? So if you have the opportunity and you feel that you're a good candidate for an IB program, it looks good. You know, we definitely look at it really well, but it's an advantage to you for those reasons I mentioned as well.
All right, so we're coming up on only having a few minutes left. So I've got another thumbs up question for everyone. Someone says, I have founded the first club in my high school, business club. Would that be impressive to you if you're reading that application? So we're getting the big thumbs up from everyone. Fantastic. Perfect. All right, I have another one, and Susan, I'm going to let you take this one. It says, I study in a Catholic high school. Will I have any advantage in admission or scholarship?
This is going to depend institution to institution. If you are applying to a Catholic university, there's a good chance that a lot of other applicants are also Catholic. And so you aren't necessarily going to have an advantage over other Catholic students. And so this is, like many other questions we've talked about this evening, a good question to ask each of the institutions that you're interested in. And you know, maybe as we go on further, if there are any of my colleagues who have special scholarships for Catholic students, they can somehow raise their hands and point that out. But at Marquette, it doesn't advantage you, it doesn't disadvantage you. We're more curious to know, what does faith mean to you? And are you interested in exploring your faith as well as other faiths as part of the Jesuit tradition? So I know that's not really a definitive answer, but I'm afraid for a definitive answer, it would probably be, it depends.
One of those answers. We get a lot of that in admission when we gather, especially in groups like this. All right, I have another question. G, I'm going to let this one go to you. And then for the second part, Joshua, if you would chime in. So it says, my school doesn't offer IB curriculum. Can I pay for it? And then would it be impressive for colleges showing that I wanted to challenge myself?
Okay, to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, your IB curriculum is going to have to come most likely from your school that you're currently attending. And unfortunately, I mean, it's you're not the only one in that predicament. There's lots of schools in the United States that there's a school just down the road from me who has an IB program, and then just go 180 the other direction. That school doesn't offer IB. My high school didn't offer IB or dual credit, so we had 1 or 2 AP classes if you were lucky. So unfortunately, it doesn't. But if a school like for St. Mary's, the only real true big advantage of an IB curriculum is potentially the advantage of a potential weighted GPA, but that's a good and a bad thing, because the curriculum gets harder, but therefore that means it's going to be harder to maintain a higher grade. So you just have to weigh your pros and cons. Unfortunately, if your school doesn't offer, at least to my understanding, I don't think you're going to be able to buy into something like that.
And to follow up on the second half of that, as far as challenging yourself. So again, as we discussed with IB curriculum, opposed to, relocating to go to another institution, the best way to challenge yourself to show, one of us reading an application would be to look for those types of resources at your current institution that you're at. What kind of extracurriculars can you join? Is there AP classes, things like that you can do right there? And, I think that would be plenty, for us to be able to show that you're challenging yourself at your own institution.
And I just want to echo my colleague. And again, even if you don't have IB, it's not the end of the world. My school had almost nothing. I come from a super tiny school in San Antonio, but all of us, we found ways to be involved. And I'm a math major. My degree is in mathematics. No one majors in math. I totally get why, but I was in math club. Like that's I think it's super rare to come across people who are math club and chess club, and then they play basketball. Like there's ways to get around it to show that you are interested in a good prospect for this.
Another thing too, to kind of jump in on this really briefly, I'm seeing a lot of questions too about what will make me the ideal candidate. And I think maybe my other colleagues too can speak on this. There's no one ideal candidate. There's not an ideal specific person that we have in mind that everybody has to fit into that mold. It's less of, are you the perfect candidate? It's more of, are we the perfect school for you? Each school, each institution offers different things that caters to you. College and university is a fantastic stepping stone for whatever goals that you want to be achieving. So instead of thinking, am I the perfect candidate? Is this school the perfect fit for me? The things that I am interested in, are the programs that are being offered aligned with my personal, professional, and academic goals and careers? Am I going to feel challenged? Am I going to feel inspired? Is there a professor, there's a program that I'm specifically interested in? And then additionally, on your application, reflect that. If you have never taken an AP course or an IB course, but you have a significant, I'm going to take Gerald's opinion in mathematics, but you're really good at math and that's something that you want to be pursuing to, speak to that. Speak to that in your essays, your transcripts, or things like that. I think another thing too, always send a message to an admissions office. Truly, we want to know you. We want to see you. We want to be able to speak to you. And if there's an interview process, we get to know you that way. If there's other applications that we can put you through, we get to learn you through that. Just know that it's not you who's a perfect candidate. There's definitely tips and tricks that you'll learn to kind of make yourself stand out more. And it's more so what school's a good fit for you.
I just want to add,
okay, yeah, I thought I saw your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, I just want to add something. At least for our university, we read applications specific to your school. We don't compare your school to school number A offers the IB curriculum, 20 APs, and your school offers only 2 APs. If you took only 2 APs, you challenge yourself the most. So keep in mind that most schools read applications, looking at your school profile. So it will not be a disadvantage for you.
And I see a question that we kind of touched on briefly earlier, which is that if you're an evangelical and applying to a Catholic institution, are you at a disadvantage? And the answer is absolutely not. All faiths are welcome. So we are at the end of our time. I am going to allow our guests here to add one final piece of their best favorite admission advice before we go. I'm going to rotate through everyone one more time and before we end. So I'm going to start in the opposite direction this time of my screen, and that starts with you, Michael.
I would encourage the students out there, set up your voicemail message on your cell phone. It breaks my heart when I want to call a student and say, hey, I got a great scholarship. I've got a grant with your name on it. I want to tell you about it. No voicemail set up. And then I try to email you and it's in spam. So definitely set up those voicemail boxes. Please check your email occasionally. We do have some things that we want to tell you about.
That is a beautiful piece of advice. Marlena.
Yes, right now we're a little bit limited in travel due to COVID, but if you have any trips to the United States, take advantage of your vacation time and do look at universities. Try to see a good mix of schools, a small liberal arts college, a big state school, and everything in between. That will give you a better idea of what you want to look for at a university.
Ryan.
Yeah, I would say make sure you try and really develop a relationship with your admission counselor or the individual that you're working with from whichever institution or school you're looking at. I personally, I love talking to students and families, and a lot of us, we'll use WhatsApp and pretty much anything possible to work with you guys. And so don't be afraid of reaching out and checking in and just developing that relationship, because I think it can help you guys in the long run.
Absolutely. That's literally our job. So we're here for you. G, you're next.
I'm not trying to say Ryan stole my answer, but he kind of stole my, no, honestly, you'd be surprised how available we are, almost sometimes maybe a little too available, but I would just you'd be shocked at how much we want to just talk to you. Like if you let us know you're interested, there's a really good chance we'll tell you, hey, you want to set up a Zoom appointment this week. So, don't be afraid, don't be shy. It's our job to want to talk to you, and we definitely want to get to know you. So if any of us out there, even if it's none of these schools listed here, just reach out to the office, send a general email. And international students are a super hot commodity in the United States. So we definitely want you in our schools as much as possible. So reach out, let us know, and someone will get to you. Someone will find you.
All right, Joshua.
My best piece of advice coming into a university in the US is just really to keep in mind that the decision is yours and yours alone. There's a lot of different kind of schools in the United States. You can go to school with 30,000 other students, 1,000 other students in a big city, or in the middle of the mountains somewhere. So really finding the place that fits your personality and what you're comfortable with. So like I said, just keep in mind that it's your decision.
Jacob.
My advice to you would be to be yourself and present yourself as honestly as you can in your application. Don't be afraid to tell us about yourself, where you come from, and we look forward to talking to you.
Ana Luisa?
I would say be organized and ask questions. One of the biggest things that somebody told me a while ago was to keep a calendar with dates and deadlines. Know when things are coming in, know when you have the things out, and ask questions. There is no silly question. Truly, like many of my colleagues on this call, we want to hear from you. There is no silly question. There is nothing that we truly haven't heard before. And if you have given us a question that we haven't heard before, I'm sure it's going to make our day. So definitely ask questions, be prepared, be organized. And know that also we're here for you. It's a hard, complicated process sometimes, and we are truly here to help you out.
All right, David.
Well, I know there have been a lot of questions about testing tonight, and I just wanted to say, if at all possible, please don't get too wrapped up in anxiety or tension about testing. One of the reasons that we've come out with these test optional policies is to relieve some of that pressure for you. And so know that you are worth more than any number that you could earn on a test. And hopefully that will help you in this process going forward.
Susan.
In addition to asking us questions, make sure that you're connecting with international students from your same country or who might be studying the subject that interests you. They are the true experts. They live the experiences at each of our universities. Ask them, what is it like to be a student in the program? What do you like? What would you change? What's the weather like? What about jobs? These are, yes, we can tell you answers to those, but students can tell you what it's like for you to be there to help you picture yourself in the best location for you.
Rachel?
So I would say take the time to really do your research before you start the process so that you understand what the requirements are, what the dates and deadlines are, when you're going to hear back, and what those time periods are going to be for you to sort of kind of wait for your decisions and then make your final decision. And keep in mind that you are looking, like Annalisa said, you're looking for the universities that are the right fit for you, that could be a really good environment for you to spend those 4 years studying, and to really kind of kick you off into that first job after graduation or on to graduate school, whatever is kind of in the cards for you. So you don't need to apply to 30, 40 different schools. You're not going to be able to keep track of that. That's too many schools anyways. Take the time to really do the research first, figure out which schools you want to apply to and that are a good fit for you academically, individually as a person, and financially as well. Make sure you're thinking about that throughout the whole process. And that's really going to stand you in good stead, because then you're really going to be only applying to schools that you actually want to attend, and it could actually be a really great fit for you.
Harvey.
My advice is to listen to all the advice everyone else has given you, and you will be A-okay.
It is a tough act to follow, Harvey, when we're at the end, right? My only little bit of advice is when you're writing that essay or statement, please make sure that you change the name to the proper school. That is something that I see as a common and easy thing to prevent. And we love your essays and all the things you want to tell us, but we definitely catch when you send in that wrong name. So it hurts our feelings, right? Okay, so that is it. And thank you so much to all of our panelists who joined us this evening. Their information is there. You can reach out to them. Don't hesitate to do so. I appreciate that you guys stayed on longer than our allotted time. And we can't stay till 1 a.m., but we did stay a little bit extra. So I hope that was helpful. And we look forward to seeing you on Thursday at our other events that are taking place in the same time frame. So thanks so much for joining us, and we're glad we could answer your questions this evening.